What's up, everybody? I'm going to go ahead and tell you what we're going to do today. We're going to talk to Lorena Williams, artist and art educator.
Hey,
Hello, hello. Good
how
afternoon.
are you? Can
Doing
you hear
good.
me?
Yes, I could hear you. Can you
Oh,
hear me?
perfect. Yeah, clear.
All right. Clear?
Man,
All right.
it's been a long time since I've seen you.
I know it's been like how many hours?
Uh, I was just thinking that, man, the conversation we had yesterday was good. Maybe we
Yeah, it
should have
was.
recorded it.
Yeah, yesterday we talked for like good almost what, an hour and a half or so,
Yeah,
right? Of
impromptu.
pure art, pure art education, everything that artists should discuss and tackle head on, right?
Yeah, good stuff,
And
bad stuff,
hopefully we
personal.
will do something like that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I would love to do
yeah.
something like that. Well, we've talked about it before, have like a whole art podcast with us three and just
Hmm.
discuss and talk about what's going on in the art world, what's going on in El Paso, all that good stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let's get started. So, Miss Lorena Williams, I've known you not forever, but we've been
Hmm.
around in the same area, same circles, I guess, and we haven't really been properly introduced until about maybe what 3, 4 years ago,
Yeah,
right?
I met your wife
And
first.
yeah, you met my wife first, of course, at the art market,
Hmm.
and that's what you were doing too. But since we're already talking about the art market, I want to talk to you about the art market because that's on my little list over here. Like, we're
Okay,
just
go
gonna
for
jump
it.
straight into it.
Go for it.
The art market, well, right, I'm like excited, right?
I'm gonna try to be
So,
politically correct, okay?
hey, if you're okay with everything being out there, go for
Okay.
it, right?
Okay.
If you're comfortable with it, be comfortable with it. All right, so well, first off, I want to introduce you, right? We already said Lorena Williams, artist, for first and foremost, and art educator, correct?
Yes. Yes.
All right, well, you got your bachelor's and your master's of art education,
Yes.
yeah?
Plus,
So, and
well,
what's up?
there's a plus. I did an extra year in my master's, or an extra semester, I would say, so that I can get the studio hours, so I can
Mm,
teach studio in the college. You know.
exactly. For those who don't know, if you're gonna teach studio out, I mean studio in the college level, you need those hours.
Yeah.
How many to be precise? Like 18 hours or so?
18 hours. Yeah.
Hmm? Yeah, because you could have your stuff, but not those studio hours, and you won't get that gig.
You can't.
Right?
And I really wanted to teach studio.
Yeah, right. So, and where do you where do you finish talking about the art market, just in case you
No,
you
go
remember?
back.
All
I
right.
could
So,
talk.
so with that being said, around that time, you're already an educator when you were doing the art market, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And you were doing the art market for how long, and what happened to that?
Oof.
Did you continue doing it, or what's up?
God, I don't remember how long I did it. I think I was one of the very first artists that opened up that market. And that's where I met your wife. Because she was running it, right? She was directing the market. So, when I started doing craft shows when I was really young, because I was a single mom. And even before I was a single mom, not to speak ill of anyone, but I will, is that I I needed money. I needed money because I needed diapers and I needed
Yeah.
to pay rent, and so I knew how to make stuff. And so I would sign up for these little Saturday bazaars. And so that's how I started, like back in the early 90s, late 80s. Oh man, I just dated myself. So I would
Yeah.
do these shows. And then when the art market came up, I jumped in. Yeah.
Yeah, that's when I had barely started, no?
Excuse me. Yeah. So yeah, I've always been making stuff, crafty stuff. That was when I was doing I don't want to differentiate. I think it's all art. But I
Yeah.
started doing the craft shows 80s, 90s. I would actually put my poor daughter in the stroller back in the day in the lower valley and go door to door, dude, to sell stuff. That's
Wow.
how that's how desperate I was at a time.
Were you selling crafts or
I would make stuff
so you're
for little
making?
kids. Yeah, I would make stuff and then I would
Wow.
sell. And God, I used to make like $4 an hour at a grocery store. And
Mm.
I would work for like 30 hours, 20 hours a week. That's like 120 a week.
That's what.
For,
Yeah, that's when the minimum wage was like what, like 4.25 or
it
so.
was
I remember when it was like
375.
3.75, right?
That's when I
3.75.
started working, 375. So when I got a raise to $4, it was like, don't ask for anything else. You're making above minimum wage. But it
Yeah.
still wasn't enough, you know? So that's why I would do craft shows.
So the
And
hustle was
so
real, man. So you've
it
had
was
that hustle.
real.
You've always had that hustle.
I had to. You have babies, you have to.
Yeah, straight up. I feel you, man, because I know. I didn't mean to say man. It's just a habit.
No, it's okay.
Always. Yeah, that hustle. When you have those kids, those are time where I had shirts. It was like around Christmas time, and I got all my shirts that I had made, and I was standing in front of Michael's, right underneath the no loitering sign and stuff. And I'm like sitting there selling the stuff, like yo. And I came back with like around $100 or so, and I was like, cool. And I would go to those little businesses, and you got to
Yeah.
do it. And that's what I think we bond a lot. Well, we bond well because we have those similarities, man. We got that hustle mentality
The work
for
ethic,
sure.
yeah, definitely. So I did well at the art market. I sold, and there were days when I wouldn't sell. Somebody told me once, don't go with the mindset that you're going to make money. Go with the mindset that you're going to show your work, and you're going to meet people, and you're going to make connections. And so if you don't sell, you're not disappointed, because the viewpoint is, look at how many people I met, how many connections I made. And so if you sold, then that would be a huge plus. That would be a good thing. So I think I did the art market for like 3 or 4 years. Every Saturday, 5 in the morning, I would get my poor husband up and out we went. Yeah.
During that time you were working, you were teaching already. And how were you managing
teaching.
both? Oh, how would you manage that? Like, how'd you have that energy? Or it was just like, you know what, that hustle, like, yo, I got to hustle right now, and you just push through?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to make, and I was younger, so I had the energy. I would come home. Well, let me tell you that for a while, my husband was a truck driver, so that was one less person to worry about, and so that gave me some free time. But then at the same time, I had to care for my kids and all that stuff. But I think I just always made. I always made. And it was just something that if I didn't do, something was missing. So I would hustle after school. When the kids went to bed, midnight, I was up in my studio creating. And I just did it until I got burnt out. I did get burnt out, and no more artist market.
Yeah, and so, like I always say, like, something's got to give. When you're trying to do something like that, let's say like teaching, and then you're trying to do that hustle, something's got to give. And it might be us, right? And like you're just gonna burn out, like you said. You burned out. Do you remember that moment? You're like, you know what? I just can't do it right now, and you're just out for a while. You remember that exact moment?
I do.
That you just felt that burnout?
Yeah, it was always rough to get up on Saturday mornings to go, because it's another job. To get up and pack your stuff and pack the truck and get all the tables and the tent and everything. And then I always felt bad waking up my husband, who also had a full-time job. But he has always been really supportive, thank God. And he would join me at the market and would help me set up and would go get me breakfast and go get me coffee and go. But I always felt a little guilty, because he didn't have a weekend off, because he was supporting me and helping me with my endeavors. So I think I had to figure out, I had to ask myself, like, what kind of artist are you trying to be? Like, what is it that you're after? And I decided that it wasn't craft shows anymore. It wasn't artist markets anymore. I had already outgrown it. I've been doing it since the late 80s, early 90s. So I thought, I've already done this. I already did it. So, and actually, I'm going to backtrack. The last time I ever did a market was 2 years ago, because I would sell every year in Mesilla. I would do the shows in Mesilla, but I don't know. I got burnt out, and I refocused my energy on my fine art, on my paintings and my printmaking. You can't do both. It's a miracle that you can do both. I couldn't.
Yeah. Like I said, like something's got to give. Something's going to give, man. Either, probably it's gonna bring strain to yourself, mental health, relationships, you know, with your partners or children or whatever, because you're out and then they don't get you 100%.
And sometimes my kids would go with me, or my son and their girlfriends, and so it was a family thing.
That's
you
what's
have
cool.
the support. It's a good thing. They're good memories. To this day, my husband looks back at that time and says, "Yeah, I liked it. It was fun. When we did that, it was a lot of fun." So I could see a question asking about the farmers market. You do need a license.
Yeah. How does
you need
one?
permits.
This Daydream Dojo, one of my former students, awesome kiddo. Yeah. How does one get into selling stuff in the farmers market? Do you need any license or anything? You want to go ahead and answer that?
Yeah, the city, you have to go to the city and get a permit to set up anywhere in the city limits. And then you have to get a tax ID number because the government wants to know that you're going to contribute sales.
Give me that money, dude.
They want their cut. So you have to get an ID number. Yeah.
So you get your sales, and what the city is asking for in this instance, besides the Mesilla one, we're talking about the downtown artist and farmers, downtown artist and farmers market, where you'll need your sales and tax license, right? And you need you could apply for that online. Real quick, a little small questionnaire. You say what you're going to be selling and stuff, and then you apply for it, and you basically get that thing in the mail. And that's what the city's going to ask for when you go. So as long as you have that and you sell at the city, you're going to be cool, because I guess they have like this whole umbrella permit kind of thing where everybody kind of sell under them, I guess at that time. And of course, if you do the the downtown art market, and you're consistently doing it, always there, you kind of get first dibs when Chalk the Block happens. You know, you're like one of the first people that they look at, and you could apply for Chalk the Block and sell there. Have you ever done Chalk the Block?
I did it a couple of times.
Yeah, that's a good spot, man. Like I did it twice. I think when it had barely first came out, when I was still a student, and I had the student discount like $20 or $25 or something like that. Back in the day. Yeah, it sounds like a long time ago.
I did the very
when
first
it was like $20.
Chalk the Block, like the very first time they did Chalk the Block. I was one of the vendors.
Was that the one with
the museum?
All by the museum.
It was actually
that's when you were
right
by
outside the museum. Yeah. Okay, it was the very first one they had.
When I had gone, it was right there where, I guess right there where you could see the Crest building. You know how that McDonald's was right there? I guess it was in that street. That's where we were vending, right outside of the plaza and stuff. Yeah. I don't know if that was before or after the one you had done.
That was after.
So I'm not too sure about that one. That was after that one?
Because when I did it, I think they only had like 10 chalk artists. And then there was like maybe 8 vendors. It was small. It was like nobody was there because it was the introductory one. So art market, if anybody is interested in doing that, you make those connections. And what'd you get out of that whole thing? Any connections? Did you meet new people, new shows come out of that? Yeah, definitely. Because people would come by even though they weren't supposed to, and they'd hand you like information, like flyers for other shows. And
you're not supposed to do that?
Yeah, you're not supposed to do that. And so then I started going to this show and that private show. And there's people, believe it or not, in El Paso, I don't know if they still do this or not, but would host parties, and then they would bring artists and vendors to these parties, and you would you would set up with your work, and you could sell to their friends and stuff. So I did a lot of private ones like that too. Nice. Outside in the winter, freezing, but it was fun.
I had noticed that you had created an all-female art collective called the Uvas, right? You called Uvas.
Whoa!
And barely right now, I just
wow.
I just pronounced it, and I didn't realize that yesterday when I was writing it down. And right now, when I said Uvas, okay, like grapes and stuff.
Like grapes. Okay.
The UVAs, does it stand for something, or is it just Uvas,
does.
like grapes?
No, I don't know.
And it's the V visual.
Do you know Spanish?
Hablo español poquito.
Okay, so there's a saying in Spanish that is "Unión de viejas aguanderas." It's like gossipy old women. And so my husband, it's because I used to hang out with a group of women that were artists, and My husband would always say, ahí vas con las uvas, Unión de Viejas Habanderas. And so when I decided, let's make this a group, let's do art. I used to do things called swaps. I used to give them a theme, and we would meet a month later, and you would bring the work that you created based on that theme, and then we would swap. So whatever I created, I would give it to somebody else. And so we did this every month. And then I changed the meaning because it wasn't going to look good, right? If I said Unión de Viejas Habanderas. I changed it to Unión de Viejas Artistas. So,
the other way is better, man. The other one, it sounds more chingona do the other way. I don't know.
My husband would agree. And so then I started putting on exhibitions. And we had one of the biggest showings in the gallery. I think it's the Crossland Gallery. The fire department even showed up.
Is that the one right there on Paisano?
Yeah, right there on Paisano. There were so many people. It was packed. They had to turn people away. And then somebody told me the fire department's here. They're going to shut down the exhibition because there were so many. I was like, cool. I think I went out there and talked to them like, look, we're letting people in, people coming out. It was an awesome experience. And so we had several exhibitions. And it was all female, all educators, different ages, different backgrounds. It was a really good experience. It really was.
I think I've seen pictures of the uvas, and I know some people, I guess, that are in your gang, right?
Yeah. Well, the group disbanded. It disbanded like, I don't even know how long ago, maybe 6-7 years ago. We started out small and it got really big. And, when a group gets big, there's control issues, right? There's differences of opinion, and there's this, and it was taking up a lot of my energy because I was trying really hard to please everybody, I guess, and I just couldn't. And I was putting in all this energy, and I was trying to bring this whole group of women up with me to ideas that I had. And my next step, what I wanted to do was create a nonprofit. And I wanted to get a building somewhere where we can offer classes and workshops and show our work and have exhibitions. And that was like my long-term goal. And I don't know, I think there was a meeting once and I realized that I was probably the only one with that goal. And so all of a sudden I felt like the weight of it, like I'm trying to bring everybody with me and not everybody wants that same dream that I had. And so I decided to refocus my energy on me. And that's when I decided to go get my master's degree. I refocused. Like I refocused out of the art market. I refocused out of the group and went another path.
But I understand how you were going through, because when you just have this vision and only you have that vision, and it's hard to find someone else with that same mentality and vision. And if you do, you're always, at one point, you're going to butt heads. You see something different than the other, and it's either work it together or just disband and do your own thing. And that could be tough. And hopefully, I guess it could really strain relationships, like, right? Friendships.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Did that happen with you guys too? Or you guys were all just still cool? Like, you know what? Hey,
I think now that time has passed, things have cooled. I didn't say, okay, we no longer exist or anything like that. I just took myself out of it. But it didn't continue on. It didn't continue to grow. So it just ended. It just stopped. But, excuse me, for the longest time, I don't think I spoke to many of them. Not because I didn't want to, but because I went to school, got my master's, I had work, my kids were growing, and then I just refocused all my energy on myself.
Yeah.
And I know you have young sons, right? And I think that we become parents, and then all our energy is raising our kids, right? My hat's off to women that are single and trying to raise babies and be artists and all that stuff. It's so hard when you don't have a support system. And once my kids grew up, and they could drive themselves to their friend's house, or they no longer needed me, then all of a sudden I was like, oh, okay, now I can focus on myself like full time, not just in little spurts, but full time. I can concentrate on myself. And so that's what when all of that happened, like everything, the group ended, artist market ended, and then went and got my master's, and then I could concentrate on being an artist and an art educator.
Yeah, when you refocus, things happen, and you refocused and started working on yourself, and that's why I tell like the young kiddos, like, yo, you got to focus on number one, and that's you. Don't worry about everybody else, man, and just take care of yourself. We had a question right here. One of the students, college. She's in college. She had another question. I thought it was kind of interesting. It's what do we do with our college art assignments? Do we keep them? Because she's wondering, her stack is piling up, and she doesn't know if she should save them or throw them away or what. Sell it. If you can sell it, sell it. That's what was cool about those shows, is that you took your artwork and you try to get rid of it, man. You try to sell it.
Sell it. Show it.
Unless you're a hoarder, and dude, I have a garage full of college stuff, man, and I have not taken. Get rid of it. I know, dude. I gotta get rid of it. They're like big paintings. They're like this big. This is one of them.
Oh man,
I was like,
photograph
that's big. Now it's a backdrop. I was like, it's a backdrop now.
It's easy for me to say salad, right? I've got stuff back here too, but I think I'm right now concentrating on photographing all the original work that I still have here, and I'm putting it up on my shop. Yeah, and I want to get rid of it. I want it to sell. Like making work, like if you're a student, that's student work, right? Whatever you're creating in college, that's your student work. And I know why you want to keep it, because it's a record of what you learned at whatever school you're at. But they're your learning pieces. They're not your professional pieces. So don't get too attached to them. Photograph them. And if you can sell them, sell them. If you can get them into a show, get them into a show. But no, man, don't get that attached to your work that you're not willing to let it go.
I like that. You hear that? So document your pieces, get rid of them. Now, do you get rid of them for like a discount price because they're your college pieces, or are you just like regular? Hey.
No. Well, an artist proof sells less than an original, right? So I guess price it to what you think it's a fair market, but don't. Right. I guess when I mean about a learning piece, I don't mean that it's not important, but you're going to make more.
Like
you're going to keep making work. I guess that background of mine comes from the art market, right? Where I would go and sell my stuff. So I also go sell my art. It's the same thing.
Now, selling your art, and now let's talk about art charities. Now, giving away our artwork. Not giving it away, but donating it to a good cause. And that's something that, a lot of us, if you haven't tried doing that, people try it. It feels good. It's a feel good thing. You've also done art for charities. One for the suicide prevention. Mental health is very important, and we should definitely look into that a little bit more. Donate money into that, put money into that.
Well, they're exhibitions that bring awareness to certain issues, right? And so last year, I entered a show for suicide prevention. And the exhibition was at the Riverside Museum of Art in California. And they put out a call. If you want to get out into the art world, you got to get into a system where you get calls for art. There's so many of them right now on social media. And because in the past, I send out work to galleries to sell or get into shows to travel, but they're personal or they're museum or gallery funded. And God, last year was tough for my family, and it made me reflect on what I was doing and why I was creating the work that I'm creating and what purpose I'm fulfilling with it. So I want to reconcentrate my efforts. Of course, I want to keep doing what I'm doing, but I also want to focus on contributing my work to bring awareness to issues that are important to me. Yeah. And as educators, I don't know if this has happened to you, but I've had students I've been I think I'm going on 14 years. I don't even remember. And I've had students who commit suicide, 3 or 4 years ago, the first day of school, a student committed suicide. And it shakes you, And when I saw that call for work to help or to bring awareness and charity for suicide prevention, I felt that that's something that I could definitely have a connection to.
Yeah.
So I sent out a piece and it made it into the show. I contributed the piece to the museum. It's theirs. And they actually had some kind of competition and I actually won. So I actually received compensation for it. But I
Nice.
contacted them and I donated the earnings from that win back to the organization that put out that call. Because then what was the point, right? Then I wouldn't have fulfilled my obligation and what I thought why I was doing it. And then the other one that I did was that I'm really proud. Actually, I just finished participating in this. Is to bring attention to femicide, Indigenous women. And so I'm part of one of 16 women who are going to put together a show to bring attention to femicide and the disappearance of Indigenous women here in the country. But because of the virus, that show right now is being held in trust at Wichita Falls. And once everything hopefully calms down, we can put that show up. I sent 20 pieces, and some of those pieces are going to go like to some universities where they'll be part of their permanent collections. But that's a really important cause, as a female artist. I want to get more into that. I want to get more into using my work to bring attention to these issues.
And to the issues that are important to you.
Yeah, definitely.
Important should be important to all of us, actually.
Yeah. I can't wait to see that body of work, because whenever I'm going to be part of an exhibition, and if I get into a show, right away I look up the artist. Like, who am I showing with? Like, where's my work hanging, and who is the targeted community, and who am I hanging with? And I look them up, and I write down their names and everything, information about them.
You gonna name drop a couple?
Hell yeah. My biggest one. Well, you know what? This is so unfair. Okay. God, I forgot her. Quick to see Smith, Janu Quick to see Smith. That lady has work in the Smithsonian, and man, I'm hanging with her. I'm gonna hang in an exhibition with this woman. That's huge for me. Even though people don't know who that is, to me, it's a lot. But honestly, I owe a debt of gratitude to the person that reached out to me and invited me to be part of that exhibition. That thought enough of me to say, you are one of 16 women from around the country that we feel has something to say about this issue. And that really touched me because, sometimes I'm my biggest critic, and I think I'm this grandmother from El Paso who goes to work every day, and I don't know if I have anything to say. And when somebody reaches out to me and says, yeah, you have a voice and you need to be part of this group, then that helps you, right? That reaffirms the work that you're doing. And it reminded me that, yeah, I do have something to say. I do have something to contribute. So I'm really proud of being part of that exhibition. The lady's name is a phenomenal artist. She was also one of my professors at Texas Tech. Her name is Catherine Prose, printmaker extraordinaire. You guys have to go look her up. She's on Instagram.
Catherine Prose.
Catherine Prose, Prose.
Nice.
Yeah, her work is phenomenal. So when she reached out to me, man, that was like Elvis entered the building.
Yeah.
It was big for me. Actually was contacted by a dear friend of ours and another amazing artist, Francisco Delgado. I think it was him who reached out to me and said, hey, Teach Marin wants to meet a couple of artists from El Paso and bring your work. And they set up a day and time where we were going to meet with him with our portfolios. And like the day before we were going to meet, Cheech got sick. So he left town. He went home. And so they told us, just email him your work. Email him your work. Didn't hear anything, and then his exhibition of the collection, the Chicano art collection that he brings to the museum, he was going to have his collection shown. And I was a part of the El Paso Museum membership. And I got invited to meet him the night before the opening, like a meet and greet.
If you get a membership, you get first dibs, man.
You get perks. You get perks. Yeah, be part of the museum. So we go. My husband and I go. We get all dressed up because we were going to go to a wedding afterwards. So we show up, right? Okay, but here's the thing. Cheech would walk like through the museum, and these entourage of people following him everywhere. Like they all want to be around him and talk to him, right? But it was funny because I would see him walk, and then he'd stop in front of a piece, and then the people would stop. And then he'd walk, and then people, and my husband's like, come on, let's go talk to him. I'm like, nah, leave him alone. Look at this. That's crazy. Poor man. He probably can't even go to the bathroom when these people go and follow him into the bathroom. So we go into a room and we get a little bit of wine and crackers. And my husband and I are just talking amongst ourselves. And then all of a sudden, Mr. Marin, Cheech Marin comes and stands right next to us. He goes, hey guys, how you doing? And when my husband and I look like, oh, hey, how are you? And we just start talking. And the entourage of people come and gather around us. And we're just talking and talking and talking. My husband's very social. If you don't know him, he's very social and he can talk with everybody. So he's talking to Cheech, right? And then at some point, he's like, oh, y'all look nice. And we're like, yeah, we're going to a wedding after this. And he's like, can I go with you guys?
like we for reals or what?
Yeah, and we're like, yeah, you want to come to a wedding with us where there's room? And he's like, no, not really. I don't think I can leave, because I have to be here. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I tell him, I was going to meet you a few weeks ago to show you my work. But you got sick. And then he's like, well, show me. He goes, do you have social media? I go, yeah, I have an Instagram. Well, show me your work. So I'm right there opening my Instagram at the museum, flipping, trying to get it to load up because the Wi-Fi at the museum was terrible. Finally, I opened my Instagram and he's looking at my work and then he's like, oh, tag me so I can look at your work when you go home. When I go home. So I tag him and then he's like, are you coming tomorrow for the artist talk? Because he was going to give an artist talk. And if you've never heard Cheech Marin talk about art, holy cow, he is so knowledgeable about art. Because I believe he was a ceramicist or is a ceramicist and studied art. Oh, and I know that his daughter went to RISB. Anyways, so I'm like, yeah, I'll be here tomorrow. So he's like, well, bring me your work. Bring me your portfolio. So next day comes and I've talked myself out of bringing my portfolio to the museum. Because I'm thinking, he's just being nice. He's just a nice guy. He doesn't really want to see my work, He was just being nice. But my husband convinces me to bring something. So I bring like some of my smallest pieces, which were not my strongest pieces. And he does the artist talk. He's doing a book signing. We finally get to him. Recognizes us and he's like, let me see your work. So I'm like, well, I just brought this, the small stuff. And he picks one. We talk, I give him my information. We get up, we take pictures with him, says goodbye, goes out a back door to catch the plane, and that was that.
Oh.
It was crazy. Yeah.
That's crazy how you almost talked yourself out of taking your work. So what was going through your head on that? Because a lot of people do that to themselves. Yes. They sabotage themselves. Yeah. They feel like, this ain't happening, man. Why would that happen to me? Me getting this chance to show my artwork to Cheech Marin or anybody. What was going through your head? What were you telling yourself? Like, well, you just said, but I don't know. I'm getting these goosebumps. Like, it's terrifying.
I hate saying that. I don't think it's, I guess we all do it, right? I'm sure you've done it. I don't know. You just think, nah, there's no way. There's no way he's going to like my work. This is just me. Again, this is just me from El Paso, grandma. Who's going to watch my work? Who's going to want my work? It's personal to me.
Is that whole imposter thing where you feel like you're an imposter?
Yeah.
Have you heard that? You're like, oh man, well, I don't deserve this, or like, why me and stuff.
Yeah. I think so. Which is terrible, right? Because as educators, what are we always telling our students?
Yes, we were telling them, hey, be confident.
Yeah.
Hold your own, do it. Follow your dreams, chase your dreams, But don't let anybody keep you down. But you also have to tell them, don't keep yourself down.
No. that did something to me. It made me like go, oh, okay, wait a minute. Maybe my work is good. Maybe I do have something to say or I wanted to show. And you and I were talking about this yesterday about how I made a conscious choice to not show here in El Paso, to like not concentrate in El Paso. Because I think that I do have a piece downtown. It's a wraparound. That's the only thing I think that I have here in the city. But I thought, I'm not going to make it in El Paso because I have the exact same symbols that many artists do. Because we have the exact same background, right? Like I grew up mostly, of course, here in El Paso, but most of my youth, I was also in Mexico, in Santa Barbara, in Parral, in Juarez. My family's from there. And I have Mexico deep in my heart, the people of Mexico, the sounds, the sights, the imagery. And when you look at the artwork here in El Paso, it's the exact same stuff that I have inside of me. So I didn't think I could contribute anything else to the story, you know, to the imagery. Yeah. So I made a conscious decision to seek outside venues. And yeah, culture, definitely. But there's people out there that don't recognize those symbols or recognize that imagery. And so when I started showing in other parts of the country, like when I first got in, one of my first shows was a Chicano art exhibition in Kansas. And I thought, wow, there's a Chicano art exhibition in Kansas. Sent my work, I got in. As a matter of fact, I actually made the cover of their invitations and stuff.
Nice.
Which is really cool. And like a week or two later, they had they took pictures of the opening and stuff. And as I was looking at it through the computer, I saw a picture of little kids, of little brown kids going through the exhibition, looking at the work. And I thought, you know what? Those kids live in Kansas. And it probably has reminded them of where they come from, of who they are. I don't know if they're the immigrants or the parents are the immigrants, but I thought that my work in Kansas was being more impactful than if it would have been here in El Paso. Because I've reached all the way over there to those kids, and they probably go, oh, hey, there's other people like me. There's people that recognize my story, you know, that I understand what that means. And we're also bringing this imagery to people that are not Hispanic, that are not Latin. And I think that as our culture, as El Paso artists, we need to start looking beyond El Paso, beyond Texas. We need to start bringing our art way out there. I think I told you, right, I have a piece in Alabama right now. Yes. I kind of wonder sometimes that if people are, as they see my work in Alabama, I wonder if they go, I wonder what that means. Or if there's a brown child in that museum going, oh, I know what that means. But we're bringing that imagery out of El Paso. I would encourage people to do that.
Yes, for sure. Like we had talked about yesterday, answer all those calls, those national calls around the country, because you said it perfectly. You said it perfectly right there. That's it. Man, that is awesome. I can't even say anything about that.
Thank you.
That's dope. All right. So yes, young artists, venture out.
Yes.
Do your thing here, venture out. I'm glad we talked yesterday. Just in case anybody doesn't know.
That was an interesting conversation, right?
we got intense. Right? You never took art in high school.
I never took
and that's
art
something
in high
that
school.
I didn't even know, but yet you're teaching high school. You're an educator. Now, there's nothing wrong with it, and doesn't mean that just because you didn't do it in high school doesn't mean you can't teach it. But what led you get into education? Like, what led you there to that point?
Necessity.
Out of necessity?
Necessity, yeah, because when I had my two babies, so a little background. My two babies, my two oldest are from my first marriage. I married very young, had a family very young. And my marriage didn't last past the first 2 years. And so I found myself alone with my two kids, right? Struggling. That's why I started doing craft shows and stuff, trying to make ends meet, plus pay rent and get food and raise 2 kids on $5,000 a year back in the day. So when I met my husband, my now husband, we've been married for over 25 years now, or going on 25 years. Anyways, when I met him,
Congratulations.
thank you. Very supportive husband, and I had my 3rd child, but I had been burned once before, and I wanted to make sure that if, back then, that if anything ever happened to the second marriage, that I wasn't going to find myself again having to find employment and make ends meet. And because when you have babies, you can't just think about yourself, And even though I wanted the BFA, I really wanted the BFA, I had to stop and think about, I have to make sure that I can stand on my own 2 feet. So if I find myself alone again, I can provide for my kids. And that's why I got into education, which probably sounds really bad, but it's a career that I really came into. I think I found my niche. And I'm very grateful for this career. It burns you out. I'm sure you know that. It's one of the hardest jobs in the world, right?
Sure.
It's a job you love or hate. It's hard. It's a hard job. It's hard. I don't even know how else to say
taxing.
it. It's God, yeah.
It's taxing, man.
Yeah.
Look at his face. Look at this. My eyes have never been so low in my life.
Yeah, but what I love the most about my job is that I can now say, now that my first students and even my middle school students that I've bumped into now as they're adults, that I've built those relationships with some of them, that I've gone to weddings and I've traveled out to college graduations, and they call me when they have babies, and they call me when they get married, and they take me out for drinks, and we meet for dinner, and I know their parents, and they become family, and that's the coolest part about teaching, when you make those kinds of connections. That will never go away. Like, that's yours forever. And that's really cool.
That leads me to this question: like, how have you grown as an artist through these years as an educator?
Oh man, I think we were talking about that, right? How when you're an educator and you're into teaching, there's so little time left for yourself, especially if you have a family, right? Because after you're done taking care of those kids, you have to come home and take care of your kids and stuff. I think that I have become more self-assured as an artist as I grew as an educator. Because don't you draw a lot? Aren't you always drawing at work? So think about it. If I've been teaching for 15, 16 years and I'm drawing all the time.
You're going to get better, right? You should get better.
Yeah, you're going to get better. You're going to all of a sudden know how to do it all. So yeah, I think definitely. I've changed. My imagery has changed too. I'm so glad.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I'm so glad I got my master's degree. I think it's one of the best things I ever did for myself. And I kept putting it aside and putting it aside, because of the money. School's expensive. But it was an investment in myself, and I credit Texas Tech and the professors at Texas Tech, which are phenomenal, for really pushing me. Like, they really pushed me. The people that I went to school with, man, I've made some really cool connections with people from all over the state and the country. And that's the cool thing about going to schools out of your hometown, is that you see other ways of thinking, other customs, other people, and that's a really good thing. And I realized that what I had to say was just as important. Whereas before, like I said, in El Paso, I'm like, I see that work all the time. So I didn't think it was important. But when I left to go to Texas Tech, and then I realized, oh, wait a minute, not everybody here is like me. I have something to say. I have something to show these people. And I think that's when my work really grew. It just took off from there.
You expose yourself to a different culture, of course, or a different environment and you grew yourself through that. There's that big question: to MFA or not to MFA
Man,
as an artist?
I would love to have had my MFA, but I'm teaching college anyways with my MAE, and I'm teaching studio in the college with my MAE. I might not be able to, I don't know, it's a thing that, again, as artists, we put on ourselves, right? MFA is better than MAE or whatever, but the MAE with my studio hours is working for me nicely. It worked out perfectly because I'm still a mom and I'm a wife. And so the MAE allowed me to learn from home, like do all my coursework from home online. And then I traveled for my studio. Now, if I was doing the MFA, I think would have to have moved over there. I had to establish myself at Lubbock, and I couldn't do that. I have a family.
I had heard about that, about getting your master's education, where you could do it online and then travel there for the studio. Someone had told me about that too, and I guess you did it, right? And
yeah, that's what I did.
We have some people in here that are working towards their bachelor's. Yeah, the big old question was like, do we pursue masters after that? What do you think?
I think if you're going to get your BFA, then the MFA is a must. You must go get that. Otherwise, why get the BFA? What is the BFA going to get you? What kind of a job is it going to get you, right? Unless like you really, really, really are concentrating on your work and really getting out there and showing. And I mean, yeah, there's a lot of successful artists with their BFA, but to me, I don't see the point in the BFA if you don't get that MFA. Because that MFA is the MFA is gonna get you tenured. Yeah, it's gonna get you tenured into a university, right? That MFA.
So if you feel like if someone wants to go that route, an MFA for sure, right?
Yeah, I would.
Because you can't get to professor level if you don't have that. But as an artist, should they go for MFA?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah,
I would.
Yeah.
I guess because the experience for me was really good. I don't know if it would be good for everybody else, right? But I think
I guess it all depends.
It was a good choice for myself. I would do it again in a heartbeat. And I love learning. Awesome. I love going to school. I mean, I'm always doing workshops still.
Yeah, for sure. I ended up getting the BFA. My reasoning behind it, instead of going for education, because I saw people that were doing their bachelor's in education, was I felt like I wanted to focus more on a study, like it's painting and stuff, and then minor in printmaking. And I felt like if I was going to go for like education or something, I would only get like little bits of everything. And I didn't get to focus on something. So I ended up getting that because I heard that you could get a alternative certification after you graduate so you can teach, right? And so that's what I ended up doing. I was like, you know what, let's do it. I'm down. I want to paint a lot. I want to print a lot. And I got it, man, the following year, alternative certification. And someone said that they weren't thinking about being a teacher as well, but I didn't want to be an art teacher to begin with. I wanted to help artists. That's what I wanted to do. So I ended up doing that, and I don't know. And I'm still up in the air about MFA. I don't know. I guess when that time comes.
I would just say, though, that if you do go for your MFA, do it somewhere else. Like, don't do it at UTEP.
Yeah, that's another question, too. That's like I went to an artist talk, Mark Bradford. I don't know if you went to that Mark Bradford exhibit over there at the Stanley where he did the piece inside. And he was talking about that, how he went to, I think it was the Cal Arts. And he's like, I got my MFA at the same place I got my BFA. And you know what? Who fucking cares? He said, basically. It's like, I did it because I lived close to there. I didn't have tons of money to be going somewhere else, and I just did it. And so what? And I do hear that, like, you know, don't get your MFA where you got your BFA. So it's crazy, but you can't get an MFA at UTEP though, right?
I thought you could.
I thought they didn't have MFA program there, and that they wanted to do that, but I haven't heard anything. But if anybody knows, drop it down The college
You
bar.
could. I mean, it's been a while.
Yeah.
I think
I,
I say that because my own experience, right? Because they used to have an MAE program at UTEP, and then they lost that certification for some
yeah,
reason.
that's what I heard about that.
Yeah, they lost it right when I was applying for it, and then I didn't get accepted because they said that I didn't have enough exhibition, history of exhibition, and I'm like, well, that's because I've been teaching. I have a BAE. I'm a teacher. How do you expect me to be fine art, exhibiting if I'm teaching? You're supposed to be entering people into your program that are teachers. So that semester they lost their certification anyways. So then I thought, okay, I'm going to look elsewhere. And that's when I went into Texas Tech. Probably my choice to apply for UTEP was because of convenience, because I'm home, my kids and everything. And but I remember when I was going to go to Tech, I was nervous. I remember packing and everything because I was going to drive out there. And I thought, what am I doing? I'm this older woman. I'm about to go into school with all these young kids who probably just graduated college. They're in their 20s. They're probably like, their work is like on point, really strong. And here I come, just again, mom from El Paso, who's been teaching and not really practicing. What am I was already talking myself out of it. And then, but once I got there and I met the people and I got comfortable, I was so glad I did it because you're around people that you're not accustomed to, because I made myself uncomfortable. I remember the first day that I got there, I wanted to come back. I never told my family that. And I wanted to come back. I was like, I made a mistake. I don't belong here. This is not what I'm comfortable with. I don't know these people. I was definitely a minority at Tech, Here, Hispanics, we're not the minority, but you go outside of El Paso, you are the minority and you feel that you're the minority. And I felt uncomfortable. But once I got comfortable with the people, started talking, got to know them, it was a really good experience. Really good. I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, I'm glad you fought back those thoughts.
Those fears,
and
all fears.
It's like it comes back. We have to fight those negative thoughts in our heads, like, oh, you're not worth it, we're too old. And I've heard that from other artists, from other people as well too, like, no, I never want to go to college because I'm going to sit there in a class with all these young kids. I'm like, dude, don't think that, man. We're all there for the same reason. We're all there to better our lives, man. And if it took you 10 and 20 more years after you graduated high school to go to college, fuck it, do it, man.
Yeah.
Because there's people out there that aren't even getting that chance, or they're stuck where they want. Not stuck, but I guess, I don't know. Just do it. Anybody, if you're out of high school, you've been out there for a long time, it's never too late to go to college, man. Never. And that's how I kind of felt too, but I was like, I didn't care. I was like, I know I'm older, but people didn't really know that.
You know what I learned this past year? And I think of years as from August to May, okay? I think all educators think that way. When we say this year, we don't think January to December, we think
August. In semesters or what?
I do. I think like
in school years?
In school years. I was reminded, unfortunately, because of the loss of my family members to this virus, I was reminded, like, I mean, we all know this, right? We all know that our time's going to come. But I was reminded, like, don't wait. Like, don't wait for the opportunity. Don't wait for the best time. Don't wait. Don't wait. Like, if you want something, you better do it now, because you don't really know, and we worry so much about like cost of living, like, oh, I don't want to go to school because it's so expensive. But if it's something you want to do it. Do it. Just do it. Stop worrying about what if, because you don't even know if you're going to get to that point. And so that also made me like, kind of give me the push again to be like, okay, what do I want to do? And hurry up and get with it. Like, pursue what I want, because you don't know like how long we're going to be here. Stop thinking about it and do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like this whole, I want to do the whole podcast thing. This is a good example. I would tell myself, Well, I don't have microphones. I don't have this. I don't have that. What I want to do. Hey, use what I have at this moment. Instagram, let's do it. Pop it up and eventually work towards that, you know? But why wait until you have everything set? You know, we're going to, what do they say? Build the plane, what was it? While we're flying it or something?
Yeah.
And just do it. And that's one thing that I've learned through the pandemic. Just like you, we don't know when it's our time, man. And if we sit around and wait, we're not gonna do it ever. It's like I'm sitting here trying to get better at skateboarding. So I'm getting better right now, and I'm not gonna tell myself, oh, I'm too old. Man, dude, if I enjoy it, I'm gonna do it, right?
Yeah.
I want to go talk to Lorena Williams about this stuff and spread this wisdom from Ms. Williams over here to our younger generations, man, and do it because we have to. We got to share what we know and what we love.
I saw a question pop up about telling professors something. It caught my eye.
Yeah. So can you tell your professors, should you tell your professors to F off if they don't like, no, just kidding. Did you, that reminded me like how you said you've butted heads with professors before. Maybe we could talk about that. I don't know. It says, the question here, it says, did you guys ever have your talent questioned by your past professors and had to prove them wrong?
You know, I have stories for everything, man. I've lived long enough to have all these stories. So I was a painting student at UTEP, and I had Quinnen. Do you remember Quinnen? Were you there when Quinnen was there? Jim Quinnen?
Yep. Jim was cool.
So yeah, very cool. He had a certain style of teaching, and he wanted a certain style from his students, which was not my style. And so I always had like a painting on the side for him to see, like if he came around to look at our work. And this is a story, by the way, that I tell my students. So I had the work I wanted him to see when he came around, and the work that I was creating behind the scenes, right? That I didn't want him to see. And whenever he would come into the studio, I put the other one away and bring out the one that I wanted him to see. But one particular day, I didn't realize he was walking through the studio, and he sees my piece, the one that I've been working on in secret. And I kind of felt him behind me, before I even like heard him. And he's like, you know, have you ever met Jim Quinnen? And then finally he's like, no, you know, tells me straight out, it's not what he liked. It's not in the right direction. You should do this. You should do that. And I'm like, Lord, you know, damn it. I go out into the hallway and I sit down on the floor because, you know, there's no seating at UTEP back then. I sit on the floor and there's some girl like a little bit away from me. And I must have like really looked upset, and because I didn't know her. And she's like, you all right? You know, everything cool? And I was like, oh, you know, and I go off into my tangent of, it was Quinnen. He's telling me that I should do this to my work and I should do that and I should do this. And she let me like vent and ramble on. And then after I finished, you know, I stayed quiet. And then she goes, well, if you know it all, what are you doing here? I thought, oh, snap. Oh, yeah. I'm paying to be educated by this professor. I'm paying to be educated by someone that has the years and the education to teach me. I'm going into debt to learn from this person. Whoa. I don't know if you heard my puppy.
Yeah,
and
chicken nugget.
Yeah. And so if you're not open to your professor pushing you into different directions, what are you doing there? You're there to learn. You're going to have to be okay. That's just it. When you go to a school, you're opening yourself and your work to criticism and to other people's view. And if you don't have like the thick skin, then you're not going to do well. And the purpose, even as you know, as educators, is to push our students into uncomfortable processes, right? Uncomfortable positions with their work. Like we want them to think more critically. Even though we like what they're doing, if we just let you keep doing what you're doing, you're not going to learn. So we have to push you into different directions, even if you don't want to go in that direction, because otherwise you stop learning. And so that was a huge learning experience for me. After that, I stopped trying to fight what they were telling me, and I think that's when my work vastly improved. So yeah, be open to criticism, and it's not that you're not trying to prove yourself to your professors, but you need to be willing to be a student.
It's like saying like, what happens if you take this road?
Yeah.
Hey, you're not gonna get hurt. Like, hey, go down this way for a little bit, see what happens.
Yeah.
I've told people, I've told students, try this thing out. I know you love anime, and I know you like that style. Let's do these still lifes. Let's do these things. You could always go back to your anime, dude. That's gonna be your thing. That's gonna be your thing always, no matter what. I can't take that away from you. But when we're here, use this time to experiment and try new things.
Yeah.
Because guaranteed that your anime, the thing that you're drawing, you're gonna improve. You're gonna improve. That's gonna improve just by doing these little exercises and things that we're doing. You're opening yourself up, and you could always go back to your thing.
Yeah.
So yes, to Daydream Dojo, Miss Alyssa, that's open up, try things out.
Yeah.
Jim, I thought he was a great teacher.
Yeah, he was.
When my, when he was.
Well, he's still alive.
I'm like, what do I don't know.
He's just not teaching anymore.
All right. He's kicking back in Mexico on the beach.
I did have a huge run-in with a very favorite professor that's still at, and whenever I tell people like, oh, I had a run-in with this guy, they're like, what? With him? Yeah. He's like the best. And I'm like, yeah, I know. We're cool.
But he's a cool guy.
But with everybody loves him. But man, he and I went at it one day in the middle of class. I don't regret it, but
Wow.
Do you want to hear the story? I'm going to tell the story.
Do it. If you're down, man, go for it.
Okay. My apologies. So,
but you guys are cool afterwards, no? You guys were cool afterwards.
We're cool. I took my first ceramics class back in the early 90s. Man, or 80s. I think it must have even been the late 80s. And the professor there taught hand building only, no throwing. And glaze came out of a bottle. And then I took clay again a few years later, because I would go to school, get out, go to school, get out. So I took clay again, and then same thing, hand building, glaze out of a bottle. I got good at hand building, but never threw and didn't make my own glazes. So then I get to UTEP, and I approach, and I'm like, look, I've taken 2 semesters of clay, ceramics. I have yet to learn how to throw. I have yet to learn how to make my own glazes. If I sign up for your class, can I learn how to throw? And can I learn how to make glazes? Oh, yeah. Sign up. So I sign up. First day of class, he gets in front of the class and he's like, this semester is hand building. Oh, dude. What? Damn it. I could have taken something else. Okay, hand building it is. And I tried to, would corral him, come on, teach me throwing, or ask your TA to teach me throwing. Nah. And I would ask people, and they would try and give me a quick little session, but you need to really be taught. And then, okay, whatever. I gave up on trying to learn how to throw. I know how to throw now, but I didn't learn it at UTEP. So then I create these pieces, and then he's like, go glaze your stuff. Go into the recipe room and make a glaze. And I'm like, I've never done that before. Go, it's all written down. Go pick one and make it. Okay. So I am this friend who is also an artist and is also an educator here in El Paso. She had never done that either. So we go into the glazing room and we mix a glaze and we glaze our stuff and we put it in the kiln. It's going to fire, go home. I come back the 2 days later and I find my friend, who I'm not going to name, and she's outside scraping the kiln shelves. Because all this glaze had ran out of our pieces and got stuck to the kiln shelves. And she's scraping, and I'm like, what happened? What happened to our stuff? And she doesn't even want to talk to me. She's just looking down working, and you could tell in her face that something had happened. She looked really upset. And so he mistreats me, and he starts yelling at me. you this, and you ruined my kilns. And then he gets a scraper and he throws it at me. Like, oh, hell no, dude, I'm not some girl right out of high school that you're going to treat like that. And I turned around and I took the scraper and I threw it right back at him. And I'm like, So first of all, if you would have done your job and taught me about the recipes and glazing, this wouldn't have happened. Because we came to you and we told you that we'd never done this before. And you just shoot us out of the way and you just told us to go over there and figure it out. So you scrape your damn kiln. And I just remember I threw that scraper right at him and I walked out. And the whole class was like, ooh. And he didn't talk to me for a while. You're my professor. And I will say this about professionals. You're getting paid to do a job. And you need to put your feelings aside. You screwed up. I always have thought that he owed me an apology for that, and that he should have manned up and come back and had taught us what we did wrong and continued to teach us. But it was really tense for a few days or even a few weeks. And I want to say that when they came to me and this fellow student, he kind of checked out. Like, he wouldn't address us. He wouldn't, if we had a question, we couldn't go to him. We had to go to other students because he kind of didn't want to address us anymore. I thought that was really wrong. That was my experience with him. It was wrong, but after the years and then since I continued on and became an educator, go to UTEP, at some point things kind of cooled down. I don't even know if he even remembers that. That happened a while back.
Well, I'm sure he did. Those things, they get stuck in your head. And he didn't talk to you guys about. Now that's the thing. Like, just in case no one know, like people don't know about this. Like, there's like low fire glazes and high fire glazes.
Yeah.
And if there was no introduction to that, was there any? Yeah. Then if you don't know the difference between those things, stuff like that's gonna happen, and it's nobody's fault except for the person that's teaching the class, I guess.
And since I had taken clay back in the 90s, like early 90s, dude, like I think I took my first ceramics class in 1992 or 93. And here it is, early 2000s. That's like a decade between my first introduction to clay to getting to UTEP. And which I disclosed to him and said, this is where I'm coming from. This is how long it's been. So I just felt like really betrayed when he then in front of the whole class threw those scrapers at us. I was like, oh no. That's the difference when you're a young woman and an old ass woman. You're like, oh, fuck this. You're not going to treat me that way. And I stood up for myself. Like, nope. So yeah, respect your students.
Respect the students. Let them know what might happen. What if you do certain things, and that's something that as an educator definitely learned. We learned how to talk to certain students. Some people get it right away. Some people do not. Some people you have to show them, hey, like this, dude. Hey, repeat with me, man. Do the same thing I'm doing. And some people could just watch and like, all right, I'm out. And then they go and they do it. So
he's
for
cool.
sure. Yeah.
I know he's a cool guy and his work's phenomenal and he's been there for a long time.
You think because you told him that you had done it already, that you had already known the low fire and high fire glaze thing?
No, because I'm pretty sure I told him, look, I haven't taken clay in 10 years and I only learned at EPCC and I didn't know much. I didn't really know anything. But even when we were going to do the glazing, I remember going into his office and saying, I don't know how to do that. I've never done this before. And he kind of like, just go.
I remember I used to have to do that at community college. I used to have to scrape the shelves and then get the big old grinder and then re-put that crap on it and whatever.
And we didn't even have like the electric grinder. He gave us like hand chisels to chisel the whole thing. Oh, screw that. I don't have time for that. No way.
No. All right.
Nope.
All right, this dude right here, what up, Gio? He's got a question for us. His 10-year-old started to play and sculpt with clay. What is a good beginner's clay and tools? And is there any classes for young kiddos to get into? That's your thing. You have advice for that?
You know what? There's I know because of the pandemic, everything's changed. But there's this organization downtown where I was going to take my granddaughter. She's 4. I was going to take her there. I think it's the Olo Gallery. right? Downtown. Don't they have
Yeah.
like something for kids? I don't know what they're doing now, if it's online or,
I think they're doing some online stuff.
yeah.
I've seen some pictures of that.
Yeah, they have a really cool programs. I was excited. I was going to take my granddaughter, and that's when the pandemic hit. But they have some really cool programs. I think Sculpey, like polymer clay and stuff, get the cheap stuff.
Yeah, Sculpey, Super Sculpey. That one's good, Gio.
Yeah.
Definitely do that. Work it. That's something that you could put in the oven to bake. And there's
Tools.
instructions on the box.
Yeah, tools. Give him something that's wooden. Don't give him anything sharp metal objects. Give him like popsicle sticks or ceramic tools that are. I'm looking to see if I have one here, but I don't.
Yeah, like wooden ceramic tools. Yeah.
Yeah, those are really good for kids to start working with.
I had this question. I got to throw it real quick.
Okay.
If you were stuck in if you had to choose one medium,
Yeah.
painting, ceramics, metals, printmaking, drawing, to do the rest of your life, what would it be?
No. Oh man, drawing.
Drawing?
Yeah, it would have to be drawing. Because that's like the base, right? That's like nothing else comes if you don't have drawing. Nothing else. The drawing is it. It has to be it. But
All right. Cool.
and you know what?
Yeah.
For exhibition, for call for artists, when the work that I send out to show around the country is printmaking. The work that I do for my enjoyment and relaxation is watercolor. The work that I do to sell at craft shows and to make quick money is ceramics. The work that I do for my family, for memento, like for gifts, ceramics and jewelry. Like everything that I do has like a place for me. Painting, like my paintings, I love doing still life paintings, but I know that they're not the most popular thing to sell or to show. So those are personal. I have this vision of creating a series of paintings of, I don't know if you remember, like when you go to museums, I don't know much if they have them in El Paso, but of these table settings with silverware and fruit and bread, and the background's really dark. And then they have like geese hanging from the ceiling. I think it's the 17th century paintings, 18th century paintings.
Yeah.
Really romanticized table settings, right? I want to do the same thing, but I want to do it using Mexican food. Instead of silverware, barro. Instead of a goose, a chicken or tripitas. Instead of wine, rompope or whatever. But have that same feeling. But people would have to like really look to see like, hey, wait a minute, those are tortillas, not French bread, or like do something like that. That's an idea that I have. That's in
Better
here.
get on it, dude.
It's
like we talked about it before.
Yeah, I better get on with it. I actually did a painting like last year where I took like old Mexican, barro, and I created a table setting. Oh, I love that painting. I have it in my dining room, and I think this is what I would love to be doing for a while, is paint. But painting, it takes up so much time.
It does.
Yeah.
Oil or acrylic? What do you like? What do you prefer?
Oil.
Oil?
I like
and you're
oil.
working with oils at home?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. And I had to dump oils, man.
Because of the smell and stuff?
Yeah, the house stuff and garage, and I'm sitting there huffing oils and
I know.
yeah. Ever since I left college, and I didn't want to become one of those students that didn't have that studio. Like when you graduate, they have like all of a sudden they're not printmakers anymore because they don't have the presses. Just learn how to do it without. You just have to hand press it. Silk screen, you could do that stuff at home, and just do it, right? And my drawings went small. They got small.
Yeah. Yeah, because you work really big, right? In college, everything's huge.
Yeah.
When I was, I used to have this other home. This is like my third home. I had this other house that's really small, and I heard somebody tell me once, "Don't let your house dictate how you live in it. You figure out what you need in your home, and you convert your house to fit your needs." So when I came into this home, my husband and I bought this home, I needed a place to work, right? So I had this extra small little bedroom, and that was my studio for a while. And we had this den, this family room. And one night I complained to my husband that, oh, that little bedroom, it was just so small. And I took off on a trip, a school trip over the weekend. And when I came back, my kids and my husband had emptied out my family room, the den room, taken out the couches, taken out the TV, and brought all my art stuff into the room. And I was like, oh, wow, And so I've been in this huge family room now for over 10 years. It's been my studio. This is where I've been because I needed it. And you know what? When I came into this space, and I remember I felt guilty for a while. Oh, my poor kids, we had this wonderful TV room for them and now it's gone. But my production went up space to stretch and, to create. Yeah, a lot of great family support, very supportive family.
Reals, you have a lot of you have your family on here. Give some shout outs, dude.
I think my daughter's on here and some former students are on here. I really can't see. I just see like
he was the favorite one.
Who was my favorite one?
He said right here. One of your boys. Yeah. Can you see the comments?
No, just like if they scroll, they go away.
Let me see. Oh, hold on. Nah, they're getting lost.
Yeah, I don't see them all. I see something about.
Oh, Michael769 says, I'm the favorite child too.
Yeah, that's my son. There's my cousin too. Yeah, Veronica. She's a wonderful hairdresser. Oh, there's my daughter. Yeah, I think that, support is definitely, for artists, right? It's very important.
Do you want to talk about you said you were messing around with your dark sense of humor?
I have a dry sense of humor, and you know what?
Hey, but you didn't tell me anything when I was talking about it. Okay, let's do it. All right, you're like, yeah, but you didn't tell me. I'm just kidding around. No, you just left me like that. So when I posted it up, I had to make sure that you were down, and that's when you told me. I was like, oh, I don't know. Okay, do we want to go down that road?
Yeah, I can go down that road.
Let's do it.
So when you told me, like, when you're like, you want to do this conversation, and I'm like, yeah, let's talk about this, and let's talk about that, and let's talk about menopause. I was just joking, right? I just wanted to like make you a little uncomfortable.
No, I was uncomfortable. I'm cool with that.
So when you put it on there, like, we're going to talk about the change, I was like, you took me serious. It's
but
cool.
We were talking about it when we were talking about it, and
yeah,
and you didn't sound like you were just joking about it, and we were talking about the change of life, menopause, and men, that kind of stuff, and some women are going to get there eventually, maybe they're experiencing that. And one question that I had was, the change of life and creating art, has that interfered? Has that enhanced? How is that? How's that going for you?
Well, speaking for myself, the change of life, or I guess I'm premenopausal, I don't know. It sucks, man. It's really not cool. I don't even know. This is what I love about the relationship I have with my kids. And I want to tell you that having an art space like you, an artist, that I can look back from when my kids were still home and were young and in high school, the many nights that they would come into my studio and they would get comfortable and we would just talk and talk and talk. Some of my favorite memories of my art studio are that my kids were part of it. And so now I have these really cool conversations, now that they're adults, and we have these conversations. I've had conversations with my son, some recent and some, one just the other night, and I was telling him, I don't know what's going on with me because, and this is good as women, that if you have sons, that you have these conversations with your sons, because they're going to eventually have girlfriends and wives, if they choose to. And these are things that they should be aware of. And I
Yes.
was commenting to him that I don't know if I'm not sleeping well because I'm stressed, because of everything that's happened, in my family and stuff, work. But man, I am not sleeping. As a matter of fact, I woke up at 3:40 last night, 3:40 in the morning. I didn't go back to sleep until like maybe 6:30. And this is happening every night. I'm up, I'm up, I'm up. And it's been going on for a few weeks now. And the other night I thought, wait a minute, maybe it's not stress, or maybe it's not even, maybe it's my premenopausal. Maybe that's what happens when you're going through the change. Maybe you don't sleep. So I'm, tired. And so that does play into your creativity, right? Because I'm too tired. I came into my studio last night and I thought, I'm going to work in my studio. And I sat here and I was too sleepy to do anything. I'm too tired, so it does do something to you when you start to age and stuff. And I feel like there's things that I want to still do and I can't, I'm tired. And so I think I need to go and get checked out, make sure everything's fine, get my hormones if I need them, because I don't want to start lagging on my work, especially now that I'm finding all of this success, exhibiting my work and stuff. So it does have an impact. I think women, not to say that men don't, but, women, they become mothers. Most of us become mothers, and then you're dedicating yourself, your youth, to raising your family, your kids, your career. And then finally your kids grow up and then, damn, here's the change. Now you got to deal with that. It's a lot. It's a lot. My son said something to me that has stayed with me about aging. Okay. I have white hairs. I mean, I know you can see them. I'm not that vain. Eventually, I'm sure I'll dye them. But he said to me that put life into perspective. He said, Mom, we're not meant to live this long. The reason why we have white hair now, or arthritis, or all of these things that happen to our body is because we have overextended our lives. And the reason why we're living this long is because of medicine and science. And our way of life has improved, right? So it's prolonged life. We even prolong the lives of our pets now. But it's past what nature intended. Nature didn't intend for us to live to 80 or 100. So what we're seeing is the breaking down of our bodies, right? White hairs is the breaking down of the function of our bodies. Arthritis is the breaking down of the function of our bodies. All these issues that come up as we're aging is because we're overextending the function of our bodies. And if you think back a few hundred years, people weren't living past their 30s. 30 was like old age. And if we think even further back in history, how long did our prehistoric ancestors live? Not 80, not 100. So the breaking down of our bodies it's going to happen, and we're going to see it because we're overextending the life of our bodies. And so I have to be grateful, right, that I'm at the age that I am, because these white hairs remind me that I've surpassed what nature intended. And if I think of it that way, then I should be grateful that I have science and medicine on my side.
I think men don't want to grow old. They don't want to grow those hairs, those white hairs, and I look forward to it. I look forward to those hairs. When people are like, "Oh, you got some red hairs right there," I was like, "Dude, good, man," because I can't wait to see what I'm gonna do when I get older. I just can't wait. I can't wait to see what I'm gonna do. I have so much living to do, and that's the way I see it. That's why I see aging. I enjoy my birthdays. I'm one age closer to living my life a little bit more, and I don't know what I'm trying to say on that, but
no, I get you, and that's why I want to get control of what's happening to me right now with all this insomnia and everything that's happening, because I don't want it to start affecting what I'm doing. I'm excited where I'm at, and I want to keep doing it. I can't believe I hit my stride at this age, like what I couldn't do in my 20s and 30s, that it took me all this time to finally get to where I'm really happy with my art career.
That's the thing, is like, you're happy. right? You're happy.
Yeah.
We gotta stay happy, and I'm actually at 42. I skate better than I did back when I was in my 20s, dude. So I thought, damn, what's going on? I started thinking differently. We think different when we get older. We realize,
Yeah.
like, hey, we were so scared back in the day to do things, to take those risks, to go to Texas Tech or take our artwork to Marine and stuff, you know. And we just gotta realize we could overcome that, and there's nothing to worry about. You know, let's do it. Well, except for breaking bones, right?
Takes longer to heal.
when I tell people my age, they're like, "Oh, you gotta be careful. You don't want to break something during the pandemic." I'm like, "Dude, chill. Like, stop feeding me that, man. That I'm gonna break something. You know, I know it's gonna happen. Stop feeding it to me. You know." I think this has been a great conversation for sure. You know, we could talk for hours, and I think we'll just end it at that. And I want to get together soon again and do this just like the way we've been doing it before, because just in case people don't know, we talk on the regular, and we've had these deep discussions, you know, over Zoom, and it's podcast worthy, man. You know, we're gonna do something.
Too bad we haven't recorded some of those.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think sometimes kind of, I guess, fear of like what might happen if, you know, you talk about certain things and maybe like, hey, you know, bosses coming up to tell you, hey, I heard you're talking like this, and I'm like, I don't want to get anybody in trouble either. So I'm not like, I don't care, but I don't want to get any of my friends in trouble. Cool.
Yeah.
Miss Lorena, I won't call it.
Thank you.
Lorena, it's been a pleasure, and it's awesome, and it's always cool to talk to you. And we're gonna talk to you in a couple of days again.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, and more women on your conversations here. Thank you. This has been really enjoyable. I appreciate it. You pushed me out of my comfort zone, that's for sure. I put makeup on.
I know, dude, when you told me that and you were excited, I was like, dude, that's cool that you're excited about that.
Very much.
Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us and asking questions. All right. And if you missed any part of this interview, it's going to go up. You could pause and watch it and listen to it just like you would listen to any kind of podcast, and, you know, enjoy the whole thing. You know, you don't have to sit there for a whole hour and listen to it. You can always listen to bits, come back to it, right?
Yep.
Cool.
We'll meet again.
Thank you. Yes, we'll meet again. Meet up soon. In a couple of days.
Yes.
Bye-bye. Thank you all.
Have a good weekend. Bye.
Thank you. Rest up. Bye-bye.